Welcome. I'm so honored that you're joining me today on Reclaim Your Life. I'm Duane, a life recovery coach, but I really think of myself as a transformational guide for women, helping them reclaim their lives and discover their authentic voice. This is the third season of Reclaim Your Life, featuring leading visionaries and heart-centered businesswomen whose passion through their work is to serve others and share their gifts to make the universe a better place. Each guest will share how they've transcended extraordinary challenges, loss, and in some cases deep trauma to become the women they are today. And I have to tell you, we have a guest today that hit a home run in the park. She is Boni Lonnsburry, the Chief Visionary Officer of Inner Art Inc., an expert on conscious creation, and the author of the best-selling book, The Map to Our Responsive Universe, where dreams really do come true. The Map has won 7 book awards, including the prestigious Nautilus Award, and was named the best Law of Attraction book in 2013 by Law of Attraction leaders. By applying the law of attraction to her own life, she transformed from poverty, loneliness, and despair to abundance, love, and joy. And now she teaches others to do the same, and I can't wait to get some tips from her today. So Boni, God bless you. I love you, girl. I know you're going to have a fabulous story to share today, and it's an honor to have you on.
It's an honor to be here, Mel. Thanks so much for asking me on.
Well, I know today that you're a powerful woman, very successful businesswoman. You travel in private jets and you go to the Caribbean and you're out in Colorado and you have a magnificent life. But let's go back to that point in time when there was the despair, the poverty, the lack of love and joy, and tell us what that was like and how you got out of that.
Mel, basically it sucked. It was awful. And the most awful part at the time was I thought I should know better. I thought I should have known how to not be there. You see, I had come across information 15 years prior to that we create our own reality. And I was blown over by that information because I had never come across it in my life. I was a proclaimed agnostic, had, a kind of prove it to me attitude about everything. And I read those words, and I very distinctly remember sitting straight up in bed with the book in my hands going, oh my God, this will change everything. And so I went about trying to do that, trying to change everything. And I thought first I would be very authentic with my life and myself. And at the time I was doing a joint MBA JD degree. So I had finished 2 years of law school, a year of the MBA program, was top in my class, gained a clerkship first year in law school, which is kind of unheard of. And so I had some firsthand experience about doing it, being a lawyer. And I was good at that too. That same year, my mother passed away. My brother, who was 30 at the time, had his leg amputated just below the knee with 4 little children that I helped watch through weeks and weeks of operation after operation trying to keep the leg. And I remember after those 2 really devastating personal events, sitting in the law school library one day, and I loved law school. I loved the challenge of it. I loved the logic of it. I loved the Constitution because it was such a brilliant, mystical, magical document. But the practice of law, I realized I was sitting there thinking, I wonder if my mom had loved her life. You know, she died before the age I am now. And she lived many, many years in pain and, had a triple heart bypass at 43. And I sat there in the law library and thought, did she love her life? And more importantly, do I love mine? And I quit law school and had no idea what I would do. And a few years fast forward, I was in my relationship, and it suddenly dawned on me that it wasn't what I wanted. And I, as gracefully as I could, which was probably not as gracefully as I could now, I ended that too. And so I found myself 15 years after I had discovered the law of attraction, seeing my life had kind of disassembled itself. Everything that I thought as a child and adolescent and young adult would be happening had started to happen, and then I'd kind of put on the brakes. And at that particular time, the divorce had been final that year. That's the year my dad died as well. My house was in foreclosure. My 2 adolescent teenage sons were acting out big time, and I begrudgingly said, okay, you can live with your dad. 2 weeks after that, I get a letter from his lawyer saying he's moving across the country with my 2 sons. I was on the verge of bankruptcy, had no income, had no conceivable way to make money. I was trying my best at a multi-level marketing company and spending every cent I could and maxing out my credit cards on leads. If I did eke out a tiny sale, 3 days later they wanted their money back. And I had already spent the money by then. It was just awful. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. I realized that I didn't want to answer the phone. I didn't want to answer the door. I didn't want to go get the mail because I anticipated it always being horrific news. So, it was awful. It was really awful.
What got you into such deep financial trouble, Boni? When you say you were ready to lose your house and everything, was there something that happened that drove you to that low point financially?
Mel, that's a good question. I think at the time I had no clue, but looking back on it, I started to dream, and I started to dream bigger. And I started to think, wow, it's unlimited. I could have as much money as I wanted. I could afford anything. And I would get really excited about it. And then I would look at my life, which wasn't there yet, and I would be like a balloon that was pricked. I would just deflate. And that deflating and that feeling like I was somehow a failure, like I was broker than broke, really actually created what I didn't want. It created more lack and more scarcity and more financial imbalance than I had ever had. And so it's not bad and wrong to want dreams, but you have to know how to manifest them, because this is powerful stuff. The law of attraction really honestly works, and it works positively and it works negatively. And so here I am, going along really fine until I start really hyper focusing on this new dream. And at the same time, I'm hyper attention to I don't have it yet. And not knowing any better, I just started feeling bad about not having it yet. And so I'm putting forth all this powerful energy towards not having, and guess what?
You didn't have it.
It worked perfectly.
Yeah.
It works every time.
And also, having your boys just snatched away like that must have been heartbreaking.
It was heartbreaking. It was extremely heartbreaking.
And did you have any recourse on that, Boni? Was there anything you could do about it?
Well, think about it. I had 2 adolescent males who were mad at the world and thought I was the problem because I had strong boundaries and strong ideas about making sure they followed the right path. And so they were ready to fight. And so if I had brought them back from a place they said that they wanted to go, I just didn't think the consequences would be something that I would want to handle or want them to go through, quite honestly. So I had recourse, but I didn't think it was a good thing for them.
Right.
So I didn't follow that.
And Was there anything else that brought you down to this dark place, this place of surrender, where you started to take a different path and tap into a power? So, was there anything else going on in your life at that time, other than the failure financially and your boys, taking off with their dad?
Well, I think I was bucking up against my own internal shame that hadn't really been healed yet. And so I wanted to become all I was willing and able to become, but I still didn't, at a very deep, deep level, believe I was worthy of it.
Why?
I deserved it.
Why?
I was good enough.
Why?
And so, of course, every time I would step out there, I was kind of smashed back down. And I know no one can relate to that.
Why don't you think you were deserving of it?
Those kinds of feelings aren't rational. They are based on childhood experiences or adolescent experiences or young adult experience or even past life experiences. And personally, I had been sexually molested as a 2-year-old. And although it wasn't rape, it was close. And I didn't even discover that or have that memory of it until I was in my 30s, just about the time that I was realizing I was in a relationship, a marriage, that I didn't really want to be in. And so there was all of this, revelation and empowerment, and at the same time, I hadn't really healed that shame yet.
How did that come up for you? Were you in therapy? Were you doing some treatment, or it just emerged?
I was working with a friend of mine who was very gifted at getting to the core of problems. And she would, guide you through discovering what was held in your body and how did it feel and how did it relate to something that was going on currently in your life. And so it was through that and through my spiritual work that I was working on with my spiritual teacher that I, in meditation and guidance with her, opened up to that. But then as I started to kind of put the pieces together, I realized that it must be true. For instance, as a child, this man was my godfather. And so he was entrusted, he and his wife, to take me should something happen to my parents. And as a child, I was amazingly fearful of my parents dying. Every single night, I would get up in the middle of the night and I would go into the room and hold my little fingers under their nose to make sure they were breathing.
Oh.
And I would curl up at the end of their bed, or I would sleep on the floor because they didn't want me in bed with them, understandably. And I didn't realize why I was so fearful of them dying until later on. And then it all made sense, and it all kind of came together. That, of course, would be afraid of being in the presence, 24/7 of somebody who'd done that to you.
Yes. Well.
So, yeah, I learned about it when I was ready to learn about it, I think.
And that you could deal with it properly, too. Yeah. So now you're broke, your kids are gone, and you've had this revelation. You're not doing too well, but you start to apply the law of attraction. And what happens?
Well, at first, just before that, I kind of, I came upon the realization that I was miserable and didn't need to be. So first I kind of let go of all my dreams. I stopped applying the law of attraction. I said, screw it, this isn't working, I'm fed up, and I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired and feeling so afraid every day. I'm just going to be happy. Just let myself be happy first and screw everything else. Whatever happens, happens. If I end up a bag later, at least I'm a happy bag lady. I mean, there's worse things, right? And what that did was it allowed me to reset my emotional body so that I was no longer in the pit of despair, but I was at least even keel. You know, I was at least at a place where I wasn't constantly flowing this negative energy all day. And once I was there, I was like, this feels pretty good. What if I just played with the law of attraction now? And that's what I did. And you know, Mal, it wasn't even 2 weeks before I landed a job. Now, it was a job as a temp. It was 2 days a week. It was $10 an hour. So obviously, this isn't going far. But I decided I would have fun at it. Remember, happy first. And so every day I would go in and I would expect to have a blast. And I would expect to be excited. And I would expect for it to be interesting. And I would expect to have fun. And I did. And then because the temp jobs were always different, every day I would go to a different job, I would, get there early because I didn't know about traffic and I wasn't really sure where it was. And I would sit in my car and I would do a little visualization. I would close my eyes and I would imagine I was in the south of France. And I would imagine my higher self and my subconscious mind and my future self, the Boni that had everything I ever wanted and more. We're all sitting at this little cafe table with me. And I would say to them, okay, you guys, today, this is what I want. I want to feel happy, and I want to feel excited, and I want to feel prosperous and abundant. And oh, by the way, you probably don't have any clue about what abundance feels like because I've been asking for it for a really long time, and I've gotten not anything close to what I want. So here's what it is. And I would close my eyes and I would feel what it would feel like to open up your bank statement and have, thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or $1 million more than you expected. And I'm like, that's what it feels like. And by the way, this is what fun feels like. And this is what adding to the world feels like. And this is what excitement feels like. And I would go through the whole gamut. It would take 5 or 10 minutes. And just 2 weeks later, I was offered a full-time job. I had a really good salary and at something I really loved to do, and I turned it down. And I turned it down because it was going to require me to sacrifice more than I was willing to sacrifice. It would have been an hour or close to 2 drive each way to get there. And I meanwhile decided, okay, this is a good sign. It's maybe not exactly what I wanted, but it's a good sign. And so I kept doing that little exercise. And sure enough, they came back and said, you know what? You can work from home. You can come in maybe 1 day a week and choose your hours that day and avoid traffic. So get here when you want. And however you want to work, we're happy to work with you. And I was like,
whoa,
cool.
Yeah.
This is working.
Yeah.
And I did that for a while, and it was so much fun. I had such a blast, and I was making pretty decent money and feeling really good. And then the president of this $10 billion company said, hey, Boni, I'm going to leave here and start my own mortgage company and my own marketing company. I'd like you to come with me as vice president. And by the way, I'll give you a piece of the company, which was one of my dreams, to own my own company. So here I had a teeny tiny little piece and didn't invest for a while, but still, I jumped on it. And I did that and just loved the startup energy. And just, I worked my butt off, and it was so fun and so exciting to create something, brand new. And 6 months later, he closed the doors on the company. And by that time, I had my feet under me a little bit more. I felt more empowered. I felt like, okay, this may look bad, but it doesn't have to be bad. And so let's just see what the universe has, because this has been working, me deciding what I want to experience. And so let's keep going with this. And sure enough, it wasn't a few days later that the president of that little company that was closing said to me, I'm going to work for this guy's mortgage company, but why don't you scoop up what's left of this company and go start our own company, and I'll be the silent partner and you run it from your house. And I'm like, okay. Got a couple of part-time jobs to hold me over, to put food on the table, and I put in $50, And my friend partner put in $50, and I went down to the Secretary of State and I incorporated that sucker and never put in another dime. Never once. I bought her out 6 months later for $5,000, which I borrowed to buy her out. But it was going fairly well by then, and I felt pretty sure that I could do it on my own. And then, it just started blossoming. And it wasn't like I had this dream of this company growing to this extent. I was just having fun. I was doing what I love to do, and I had this absolute rule that if I don't love it, don't do it, find someone else to. And don't sell yourself out. And so I took vacations, and I, worked until 5 o'clock, and I would get up early sometimes and start working at 4 because I was really excited. But I'm a morning person, I'm not a night person, so 4 or 5 o'clock, I was out of there. And, it was on my terms. And it grew within 5 years to $5 million in sales annually. And in that time, I bought a commercial building that I shouldn't have qualified for because A, I had no down payment, and B, I had just been out of bankruptcy, and C, my business wasn't even in business for that long. But by then, I kind of knew the magic, and I knew how to do it. And so I visited banker after banker after banker after banker, and it was really interesting because I kept just dreaming beyond all odds that it was going to work out. And I had this heart connection with this building, and I thought, you know what, if it doesn't, it doesn't. Something better will. And so, I let go of it. But it did come back, and I did get into it. And I bought a home with a very kind of same scenario. No money down, and just out of bankruptcy. And yet, somebody talked to somebody who talked to my banker, who vouched for me, and this guy was in Arizona, and they met in Santa Fe, and, circumstances that you never could have predicted happening. And yet that's the magic of the law of attraction. You don't have to figure out how it's going to work. You just have to trust that it will.
Can you give us some specific steps now on this manifestation process? Because I'm impressed. I do real estate, and I know how challenging it is to buy commercial property with no money down. That's miraculous. But what I'm hearing from you loud and clear, which I think is very important, there are two things that you have said here. One is that you just had this incredible belief. It didn't stop. And two, you were having fun.
Yeah.
You were having fun. And I think that's a very important part of the process. So can you break it down into some specific steps maybe? Is it possible?
Yeah, absolutely. But first I want to just agree with you 1,000%. The fun creates the energy that we need to create. Mm-hmm. I often tell people that I work with, it's not about the things. It's not about the things. The things will come. The houses, the relationships, the clothes, the cars, the trips, the opportunities, the synchronicities, the joy, the love, the connections, that will all come if you just keep having fun and believing they will. That's an important piece too. I tell people that, it's like you're going to a party, and at the party is this grand opportunity to have a great time and have the time of your life and enjoy yourself and be all that you can be and show your talents and gifts and strengths. And the goodie bag is the things. The goodie bag is the cars and the relationships and the clothes and the great everything that you could want out there in the world. But you don't get the goodie bag unless you go to the party.
Right.
You have to go and give it all, and not, you can't fake it. You can't say, oh, I'm having fun, when you're really not, when it's really a struggle, when you're really doing it to get the things. You do it because it's fun.
It's those feelings that you get when you get the thing that you that you desire.
Yeah. The feelings create the things.
Yes.
The things don't create the feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's it's easy to say, but it's not that easy to do. But once you start doing it, it's, oh my God, so much fun. Because you're having fun and you're getting fun things just for nothing. So,
Now, you created this very successful company. Did you sell it?
I did sell it. I sold it when I decided to start teaching this information, which I was told in 1992 I would be doing. And in 1993, I started doing it, but man, I was nowhere near being able to do it. You know, I hadn't created success in all areas of my life. And so I was, you know, trying to tell people how to do it, but I didn't have the first clue. And I created a lot of really good, almost there moments, you know, where I had a contract to do one of the stories in one of the very first Chicken Soup for the Soul books, for instance. I was able to get Nightingale Conant to consider in wanting my tape series that I put together for their catalog. I wrote a little book called A Piece of Chocolate for a Woman's Soul, way before most of these pieces of things were written. And I had an agent in New York, and she was really excited about it and started showing it around. And believe it or not, I lost the copy, I lost the digital copy, and the agent lost it.
Ooh.
Now, if that isn't self-sabotage creating,
Wasn't meant to be, I guess.
well, it's not meant to be or not meant to be. I was not ready to create success.
Right.
I just wasn't. I didn't have it all. I didn't have my beliefs and my own self-image in alignment with it yet. But you asked.
You create beautiful products now. They're
you.
on Amazon. You've got these gorgeous journals and cards. The things that you create are so beautiful. They're packaged beautifully. Tell us a little bit about your products. And also, I know that you're giving a free gift to our listeners, and I'd love you to describe that a little bit as well.
Sure. The products are all based around the book, which is the map. And you asked for steps, and actually the map is the steps. The map, after I created this amazing success and all this money coming in and the man of my dreams and the marriage and all of this, you know, fabulous life that is, it's, I don't even tell people really about it because it just sounds too far out. So I keep most of the details to myself, but I wanted to share how to do it because I knew that it was very, very conscious creation on my part, all of it. And so I sat down one day and I put together the steps and I used sticky notes and just placed them all out and then rearranged them until I got something that I knew would work for any creation and has worked for every creation you see out there any place. And it became the map, the book that is now, you know, changing the lives of so many. And so it starts with owning who you are. 7 steps, but they're not necessarily linear. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you get to a point and you need to go back and kind of redefine your dream or whatever. Step 1, know who you are. Almost no one realizes, certainly to the extent that we are, absolutely 100% powerful, divine creators. We are pieces of God and Goddess, or whatever you want to call it. And by that given divinity, we have the ability to create our world. Just owning that a teeny tiny bit goes a really long way. Then know what you want. And a lot of people say, Bonnie, that's my problem. I don't know what I want. And I say, that's the good news. Because you don't need to know what it looks like. What you need to know is how you want to feel in any given area of your life. And so around love, you may not know, you know, that he's 6'2", that he does this for a living, he's this age, he has this many kids, or doesn't have any kids at all, or bike rides for a hobby. You don't need to know any of that. What you need to know is how you want to feel when you're in the relationship. I want to feel really, really cherished. I want to feel like there's no one more important, like he's my life and I'm his, and yet we have this independence and we come together and make each other more. I want to feel like I can't wait every day to get home and share my day with him or her. Those are the things that create. And so defining those and setting intentions for those is step 2. Step 3 is flow some energy towards that thing. So feel the way you want to feel and stop feeling the way you don't want to feel. And so there are flow stoppers like anger and guilt and shame and, impatience that put a halt on those dreams coming forward. And then there are those flows that we are flowing without even knowing we're flowing them. Those are the beliefs. And the beliefs we are flowing 24/7, so they're really, really important to discover and change. Next is taking action towards what it is you want in the world, because until you bring it into the world, it might be just all a thing you have in your head. For a long time, I wanted to have horses. It was an adolescent dream of mine, and I wanted to be able to ride when I wanted to ride and have them available and have fun with them, and I had this whole dream going. And sure enough, my current husband has horses. And you know what? The reality wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It's not that much fun anymore. And it was an adolescent dream. It was a dream that I needed to let die. And so taking action is a proving ground for those dreams. And it also shows us where our beliefs might be holding us back. The next step is my favorite step. It is the response. It's the response in the world. When you start flowing energy towards that dream, within a day, 2 or 3 days, you will receive a sign that the universe is responding to your new energy. So it'll be something little, but it will be related to the area that you want to change. So, it might be that, you I was working recently on more success in my company, and I get in the mail this magazine called Worth. And it's all about, net worth and all these, glitzy, glamoury, luxurious things. And I thought for sure, my husband, who's very, very successful, I thought for sure it was his magazine. And I looked at it and no, it was addressed to me. And so that's a sign. And a lot of people get signs and they don't even realize that they're signs. Mm-hmm. For instance, their best friend, if they're trying to manifest a relationship, their best friend may call and say, "Hey, I'm engaged." And they may go, "Oh, that's great. Why wasn't it me? I wanted that. And now I have no friend to hang around with, and she's off with her new fiance, and I'm alone." Well, that's not the energy that will manifest what you want. So to take it as what it is. The next step is being happy first. All those hours in the day that you're not focused on your dream, focus on gratitude, focus on being present, focus on just enjoying your life. What is wonderful about it? And there are many things. And the last step is the optional step. It's ask for help out there in the universe. There is so much help available to each of us. And as you can allow that and request it, it really does make a difference. And so that, in a nutshell.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the free gift that you're going to be giving.
The free gift is a starter pack. So it's a dream builder kit. And I wanted, something that makes it easy for people to get started. Because a lot of times people think, oh, those 7 steps, they sound so complicated. Or, yeah, she can do it, but I can't. So I wanted to give people a little bit of hand-holding through the initial steps. So first there's a quiz that asks people, are you ready? Because it really takes some certain things like commitment and perseverance and just the willingness to keep going. You don't have to believe it all now. Certainly you can change beliefs that aren't in alignment, but you have to be willing to take the next steps and the next steps. And this kind of gives you an idea of what might be expected. And then there's a workbook that is the hand-holding part that takes people through, even if they know what their dream is, to clarify it and write intentions around it. There are sample intentions in all different categories, from your creative intentions to your intentions for the world, your intentions for relationships, your intentions for your love, everything in between. And then there is a meditation that allows people to kind of merge with this dream, this future that is waiting for them that they may not even realize is out there, and kind of get it energetically so that they can begin to bring it into their life and write their intentions and take those first critical steps towards building their dream.
Oh, it sounds wonderful. Yummy. Would you give your web address, your domain name, to our audience for anybody that might like to reach out to you and connect with you and have a deeper conversation?
Sure. It's livealifeyoulove.com. And it's got a lot of information about how to do these things. I wanted to, my number one goal in this business, because, luckily money is not a driving force anymore. I really want to help people realize the potential that they have, the power that they have within them, because every single person listening or watching has unlimited power, and they are not even beginning to be aware of it yet. And so my goal is to impact people's lives by helping them realize what they have right there inside of them. So livealifeyoulove.com.
Boni, you're fascinating. I love it. And I love your success, but you're just so authentic and real and genuine. And I can't thank you enough for today. Just a you.
Thanks so much, Mel. You make it so easy. I get so excited, and I've shared some things that I haven't really shared with many people before. So thank you for opening that door for me and allowing me. Namaste. Thank you.